Hey there guys, Spexy here and welcome back to Retrospecs for this Halloween Spooktacular. Wait, what? Did I just say Spooktacular in an attempt to be more Halloweeny? Yeah, you're damn right I did, because just like Christmas, Halloween is one of those rare times of year where it is custom, if not night compulsory, to change your Twitter name and avatar to something a little more fitting, consume gallons upon gallons of seasonally spiced latte, and use any amount of cheesy wordplay you feel like to emphasise the holiday feeling and jump upon that heavily laden wagon of bands. So with that in mind, my little ghouls and ghosts, ooh, game reference there, surely I'll get bonus points for that one. This is indeed my Spooktacular, and it features the Queen of Scream herself, Mistress of the Dark, the stunning and ever seductive Elvira. Now for those of you who do not know who Elvira is,
get out!
For the rest of you, she of course requires no introduction. Over the years, Elvira has provided an entertaining look at horror B-movies as the host of Elvira's Movie Macabre, a remake if you like of a previous horror movie show called Fright Night starring Larry Vincent. In 1981, 6 years after Vincent had passed away, studio producers started looking for a host to replace him in a similar series, only this time they were looking for a female to host that show, harking back to the Vampirella days. During those auditions, a certain Cassandra Peterson tried for the part, and her over-the-top punk look along with a tight-fitting dress were not the only couple of things that got her noticed.
That gal with a shape that drives men ape. Elvira, Mistress of the Dark.
Airing in September 1981, Elvira's Movie Macabre was a huge success and saw Cassandra's Elvira soar to popularity. She has her own comic, action figures, Halloween costumes, trading cards, calendars, even a perfume. But along with all these other things, not surprisingly, she also got her own video games. Yes, that's plural, games, and that's what I'm here to tell you all about today. So firstly, in 1989, after seeing the potential in Elvira, Bally Midway were the first to make a game based on the character, with their pinball machine, Elvira and the Party Monsters. Now although this is not strictly a video game as such, it is far more mechanical than that. I absolutely loved pinball tables, and a good table stands up there with anything that a video game can offer in terms of both gameplay and visuals in my opinion. And let me tell you right off the bat, Elvira Party Monsters is a bloody great table. Obviously what you see in here, apart from the Google sourced images of the table itself, is down to emulation in the form of future pinball, as I don't currently have access to an actual Party Monsters table right at this moment. But nevertheless, it does give you a good example of what the game is all about. The artwork is absolutely stunning as you can see here, which is nothing unusual for a Bally Midway table, but when combined with the Elvira imagery as well, it just pops. And do you see those little monsters there? They're almost actually identical to the Jiggler Uglies finger toppers that you used to find in toy shops back in the early 80s. If any of you out there are old enough to remember those, I know I am. Gameplay can get fast and frantic at times, especially when the multi-ball kicks in, but overall it offers a great challenge. If you ever see this table in the wild, I urge you to play it. You will not regret it. A conversion of Elvira's Party Monsters can also be found on the Atari Lynx game Pinball Jam, but I'd urge you not to bother playing that as it's nothing like playing the real table. But it is a video game, so I thought I'd give it a mention anyway. So there you go.
Leaving so soon?
Next up then, we have a little UK company by the name of AdventureSoft, who are perhaps most well known for converting the Scott Adams Adventure series of games, including the Quest Road Marvel Comics based games, to work on UK home computers, for which they were not initially programmed for. But also they wrote their own adventure games using the same Scott Adams engine. These included Gremlins the Adventure, Robin of Sherwood, a tie-in to the then popular UK TV series, Terrorquake featuring He-Man, and Super Gran the Adventure for Tynesoft, which I covered on a previous video, and the less said about that one, the better, to be honest. But the company, after having landed the license for Elvira and now in the hands of the Woodruff brothers of Simon the Sorcerer fame, decided to change the name of the company and take advantage of the Elvira license to make an adventure game, and in 1992 Elvira Mistress of the Dark was released, created by Horrorsoft and published by Accolade. Although sharing its name with the 1988 Elvira movie, the game itself has nothing to do with the plot of the film. Instead, it creates a new adventure which carries on where the film left off, seeing Elvira inherit her Uncle Vincent's castle Kilbragant and planning to convert it into a horror-themed tourist trap. However, in the process of doing this, Elvira inadvertently awakens a bunch of rather unfriendly followers of her late ancient ancestor, the evil sorceress Imelda. Elvira finds herself trapped inside the castle to be used in a ritual to resurrect Imelda, who along with Satan plans to turn the world into an undead nightmare. All over the top and very horror movie cliche, I must admit, but in this case it works extremely well. You play as a Ghostbuster for hire called in to help by Elvira and must help her by locating 6 special keys to unlock a magical dagger and a scroll which will be used to vanquish Imelda for good and save the world. Easy, eh? Well, no, as it happens. This game is tough, but rewarding. It throws as many twists, turns and horrors in as any cult B-movie screenfest ever could. In fact, the visuals were considered quite shocking for its time, and I can see why, to be fair. The Woodruff brothers had already made one horror game before this one, Personal Nightmare, and Elvira shares quite a lot of its game engine with that title. You move around the game world in a tile-based maze style, able to turn and move in all available directions, much like Dungeon Master or Eye of the Beholder, and you can also pick up items which you collect in your inventory to be used at different locations. You will meet numerous NPCs to interact with, and a slew of enemies to defeat along the way, and all in all it's a pretty decent adventure RPG for its time. Being released on the cusp of the 8-bit to 16-bit era, and with the big boys on the block capable of displaying far better graphics than their 8-bit cousins, it should come as no surprise that the game looks way better on an Amiga or an ST. Although it has to be said that the Commodore 64 version, for which it was also released, doesn't look too bad considering the limitations, a little bit more blocky and garish in comparison, but otherwise the game plays identically and is surprisingly good. In the same year, Newcastle upon Tyne-based software house Flare released their own Elvira Mistress of the Dark game, presumably given the rights to use the license from Horrorsoft. However, this time the game was an action platformer. Elvira Mistress of the Dark, the arcade game, sees you taking on the role of the aforementioned Dark Mistress herself, guiding her rather awkwardly through a series of levels set across 3 worlds: the Underworld of Fire, Arctic Earth and the Castle of Transylvania. All fitting B-movie sounding titles, I see. Nice touch. As you can see from the pixel art, the artist went to lengths to ensure that Elvira's assets were displayed appropriately inappropriately even on the C64 version of the game, although admittedly somewhat blockier, as you can see right here. Aside from this though, the rest of the visuals are in keeping with any other game of this type from the era, and nothing particularly stands out, well apart from those, but overall it's pretty average to look at. When it comes to the gameplay, however, this game would fall flat on its face if not for those bosoms to prevent it. The controls are poor, the jumps don't just look awkward, they feel terrible, and often see you miss important jumps and fall straight to your death. Not a game I would really recommend to anyone. It isn't an abomination by any means, there are far worse games out there for sure, it just doesn't offer up anything really worth playing it for. Well, apart from having a laugh maybe. Following the success of their Elvira Mistress of the Dark adventure RPG, Horrorsoft went on to release Elvira II, The Jaws of Cerberus, a sequel to the former game, and this time with even better visuals, more locations to visit, a longer storyline and a kick-ass box cover. I mean, come on, look at it! You play as Elvira's boyfriend this time and must attempt to rescue her from the clutches of an evil demon Cerberus who plans to use her for his own nefarious means. Doing this will require you to explore a horror movie studio which was apparently built on an ancient burial ground. Yeah, of course it was. This has resulted in the props and sets coming to life and creating actual horrors to contend with. Imagine that. Again, it's all very cliche, but it works particularly well considering the subject matter. You'd expect no less from a game based on a character that made a career out of taking the piss out of B-movies and their terrible cliches. Does the game make much use of the Elvira license? No, not really. After a while you completely forget it has anything to do with Elvira at all, and in fact I think that's quite a good thing. The game is great in its own right, it doesn't need a brand or a character to make it that, it just is. So I for one am pretty happy that it doesn't rely heavily on milking the character.
But if they ever ask about me, tell them I was more than just a great set of boobs.
It uses a tweaked version of the previous game's engine, and all in all it feels a little more fluid and action orientated than before. I loved this game and fondly remember playing it on the Amiga back in the day. In fact, both of the Horrorsoft Elvira adventures won multiple awards in the industry, and I'd say they deserved it. So finally we venture rather neatly back into the pinball parlours for Elvira's last 2 games. Firstly, we have Elvira Scared Stiff by Midway in 1996, another classic which again you can see here courtesy of emulation, so it isn't a patch on the real thing. However, Future Pinball is quite a good tool for checking out some of the older tables, and I might take a more in-depth look at it in a future video. If that's something you'd like to see, let me know in the comment section.
Hello, darlings. Yes, it's me, the titillating temptress in the flesh, and not much else. Elvira, Mistress of the Dark. And tonight, I have an especially terrifying tale from those monster hitmakers at Bally. It stars my favorite actress of all time, me. And it's destined to become a true cult classic forever. Or at least until you croak, whichever comes first. But I can see you're ready for some action, so get ready to get scared stiff.
I can only vaguely remember playing this game a couple of times on an actual table. However, I would like to find one again because I really do want to give this another shot, and in my mind, Elvira lends herself so well to pinball tables. Oh, and oh look, Elvira's Jigglies are on show again.
Just wait till you get your hands on my bumpers.
So here it is, the last game of today's video, Elvira's House of Horrors, this time created by Stern, another titan of the pinball industry. Elvira's House of Horrors is a 2019 table, so not that old at all to be fair, and it's simply stunning to look at. I recently had the pleasure of playing this table only this weekend at Play Expo Blackpool, and thanks to the lovely Jammer grad, or as you may better know him, Watto Snorkers, I have some footage to show you. Now I don't play it very well, so the footage isn't that long, but it does give you an idea of what it's all about. So thank you Snorkers for that, and for the rest of you, take a look. As you can see, it boasts a full colour larger screen this time to show your score and the mini games on, and the graphics are fantastic throughout. If you do find yourself with the good fortune of seeing one of these machines, then I do urge you to go up and play it because it's definitely worth a go. Or two. Or three. Or until you run out of bloody money, to be quite honest, because this game is absolutely fantastic. Other notable mentions of Elvira in video games are A Calendar in Blood, which is definitely inspired by, if not supposed to be, Elvira herself, Attack of the Radioactive Thing, which is a zombie map for Call of Duty Infinite Warfare released in 2017 on the PS4 and the Xbox One, in which Elvira not only provides some voiceovers but appears as an NPC that gives you missions and also joins you on one of the missions fighting the zombies herself. And more recently in 2020, Elvira appears in a ROM hack of Bandai's Monster Party for the NES. Yeah, okay, so it's not an actual official release, but I thought I'd give it a mention anyway because it is pretty cool to be fair. So there you go, Elvira Mistress of the Dark and all her gaming outings to date. As for Cassandra Peterson herself, she's currently reprising the role as Elvira in a brand new 4-movie special on Shudder to celebrate the 40th anniversary of the character. And at 70 years of age, she is still rocking that frock. Oh my lord. I hope you liked this video, and if you did, then why not spank the hell out of that thumbs up button, and don't forget to subscribe for more retro goodness. I've been Spexy, you've been fantastic, and I look forward to looking backwards with you again in the next episode. See you soon, bye for now.
Unpleasant dreams.